of Laugh, Lend, and Eat with Madness.
Madness.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
So, for people who are used to our typical Laugh, Lend, and Eat podcast, this is a newer version that we're trying out. We're going to see how it works. We call her Madness because that's her nickname, but it's really Madison Keenan. Madison, I know you're traveling right now, so thank you for taking the time and starting this new episode off with me, man. I appreciate it.
Of course. Well, we were talking the other day, and you pretty much told me to hold some things in. So I've been holding on to these things all week, and I need to get them out.
So look, let me ask you a couple of questions first, because I want to make sure my audience gets to know you. You were on an episode. You've been on 2 episodes.
2 episodes.
So you were on the Millennial Mortgages or Mortgage Millennials.
Mm-hmm.
And then you interviewed me when we introduced you to part of the Laugh, Lend, and Eat family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we were kind of like, whatever happens, we'll figure it out. And then you did a good job interviewing me for my book. So
you wanted me back.
let's let the audience know you a little bit. So your nickname Madness, which we've now coined this episodes or these what this turns into, Laugh, Lend, and Eat Madness. So give us the history of this name, man. It's kind of unusual for a girl to be. I mean, I don't look. I'm an older guy, so sorry if I come off a little crazy, but it's unusual for a girl to be called Madness, right?
It is. So best way for me to explain this is I'm Madison. I have a brother, Max, and we have a sister, Riley. Riley is the angel, doesn't really, doesn't do anything, rock the boat. Me and Max are, we were the challenging children. And so one way or another, Max became Mad Max and I became Madness. And when I was in high school, I was kind of, on the fence about what I wanted to do once I got to college, or if I even wanted to go to college. And I got into makeup, and I created a makeup line called Makeup Madness, and that was like my Instagram name. And then I went to college, and I got my yoga certification, and I was like, Yoga Madness.
No.
And then I got into mortgages, and I was like, well, shit, Mortgage Madness. Like, this is my brand name now.
So then this makes sense, that Laugh, Lend, and Eat Madness. So this is like your foray into podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just continuing the brand.
Exactly. It's just a brand extension at this point.
I hope you don't mind the graffiti that they did for the Madness. Like you.
Well, you know what? Everyone internalizes madness differently. Some people are like, "Why the hell?" Like, they're thinking like crazy.
Well, I asked our guys. I said, just imagine a girl in Jersey with a spray paint, and she comes and spray paints her logo.
Just imagine a girl from Jersey who calls herself Madness. That's
right.
All you know, and she works in mortgages.
I think they did a pretty good job of that. So, look, you're traveling. You're in Florida today.
I am.
How was your travel? Like, my daughter literally got delayed 8 hours coming out of Orlando.
I got delayed. So I was in the airport. I booked like the latest flight out Friday. And I was sitting in the airport, and as I was online at security, they were like, your flight's delayed 30 minutes. I'm like, all right, whatever, no big deal. That gives me more time to go through. Then I get out, they were like, your flight's delayed another 30 minutes. So I was like, okay, great. I'm kind of hungry. Let me go, grab food. And then I was sitting, and they were like, your flight's delayed another 30 minutes. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a drink, because now it's 10:30 at night. I'm not going to get in until 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, and there's these 2 women across from me. And you could tell they were like friends, or they were drinking. They had been drinking.
Okay.
And they looked at me, and I had a baseball cap on, and it said, instead of gin and tonic, it said Jim and tonic.
Oh.
And the lady was like, oh my God, I was going to order that drink, and I feel like this is a sign. So we all ordered drinks, and we're just kind of talking, and they're from Jersey too.
You're at the airport.
I'm at the airport.
So you're not like at a bar.
No, make sure. Like literally sitting at the airport with the little
kiosk. You guys are all going to get on an airplane momentarily and fly somewhere. And
yeah. And all of a sudden they're like, well, what do you do? Like, we're just talking. They're from Jersey. They own, a store. And I was like, I'm in mortgages. And they're like, how old are you? And I was like, 26. And they were like, what are you doing in mortgages? And they were just like, long story short, they told me I was wasting my time in talent. And I was just like, thank you for your opinion. And they were flying to Paris to go look into some clothing for their clothing store. And I was just like, you own like a storefront right now after the like I'm the one that's wasting my time and my talent, you
Dude,
know.
I got to cut. You know what happened one time? I was flying to Pakistan. I took Air France. We stopped off at Paris, right, for like a 2-hour layover, whatever. This guy gets on, so the plane was going to go to Pakistan and then go to Bombay, India after that, or Mumbai, India, right? And so this guy gets on the plane. I'm in the window. There's another guy in front of him in the center, and this guy's in the aisle seat. And this French guy, he's so drunk.
Yeah, they
I
were
mean,
just
wasted drunk. And he literally like plops down the seat, and his head is on the tray. And the steward is like coming over saying, "Sir, you got to put this tray back up." I mean, he's so inebriated, he doesn't even know where. So like, the guy next to me, I don't know him. I'm like, I said, "Do you think he's going to wake up in Mumbai and figure out what the hell happened?"
Like, where the hell he is. Can you imagine like waking up and you're like, "Oh yeah, you're just in Mumbai."
Like all these cows like all around him.
Yeah, no, I can't. Well, this is how I knew that they were drunk. So after they went on a whole rant about how like I'm wasting my time and my talent, and like they've never heard of a woman in, you know, a woman in mortgage, let alone like a young female.
Wow.
The waitress came over with like a box of pizza, and we were all like, none of us ordered pizza. So they literally took the box of pizza and they were like, well, we just paid $18 for this airport drink, so it's our pizza, and booked it. And I was like, so you're just going to sit here and like insult my career, take my business card, steal someone's pizza, and like leave like nothing happened. I was like, great.
So this is like another day in Jersey, it sounds like.
It
I
is.
mean, Jersey people have
this isn't the first time I've gotten that comment. You know?
I mean, but Jersey people have this ability to be honest with strangers. Is that the right way to politely say that?
Yeah. And it's, you know, it's like I always joke with some of my clients, and I'm like, you know, fortunately, I am the most transparent person you will ever come across. Like I can't not say what's on my mind.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, tell you how it is.
Yeah.
So it's funny when you're, you know, in front of other people who feel that way as well. Yeah. But I was just like, what are you basing this off of? Like, you know, but good. You know, like I said, it's not the first time I've been criticized or ridiculed or questioned for my decision to enter a highly stressful industry that not a lot of, you know, it's more male dominated for sure. You know, that's just facts. And then, you know, you see someone that's in their 20s, you know, and I feel like a lot of people don't get into the mortgage industry until they've kind of done other things within different realms.
Do you think being a male dominated industry, do you think that's a negative, or do you think that actually helps you sometimes?
Depends on the day. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I need to just remove all of my, like, I'm too emotional, you know, like I get emotionally invested into things. And then
you don't cry if you get a loan denied, do you?
Not when I get a loan denied, but there's been a few.
Have you cried in this business?
I have. And then the guys in the office are like, take your emotion out of it.
Yeah. Quoting Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks. There's no crying in the mortgage business.
Yeah. And I learned the hard way from that. I'm better now. I will say in the beginning, I took everything really personally. And I think it was because I was insecure or like not confident in my abilities. And then when something like that happened, you know, like a deal dies or there's stress going on throughout the process, and I put the blame on myself. And then, you know, that's not a place that you want to.
Well, let me ask you something. You read my book, right?
Yes.
I know you read my book. You read that little story about the good faith estimate where I didn't know you had to change that for like, I don't know, 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, being a male in the mortgage business, but I was still a minority, right?
Yeah.
I never really let that like get to me. Like, yeah, it was embarrassing when the loan officer figured out what I was doing,
what you were doing, yeah.
And I kind of like, but I always like had this like bravado about me. Like when clients would call me and say, "Hey, my closings are way higher than you quoted me," and I just make up some excuse. Like, I mean, is that like a typical male thing to do, or, I mean?
No, I think that's like a human thing to do.
Okay, cool.
And you know, that's where I started to actually kind of so I was a loan partner before I dove headfirst into being my own LO. So I got to, you know, work alongside other guys that have been in the industry for much longer than me. And then what I started to realize is like, hey, shit happens. Like you can be in this industry for 20 years you can know it all or think that you know it all, but there's still things that you're not going to know, or you can't predict, or you
Yep.
can't. God, if I could predict everything, you know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
Madison, I can't tell you how many loan officers I've trained in 28 years that I've been doing mortgages, right?
Yeah.
And the few of them that said to me that like they wanted to know everything before they went and took an application.
And that was me.
And I was like, dude, there's no way. You got to go out there and you got to bring in the deals. And then as you get, living, breathing deals, we'll see the scenarios and we'll work it out.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you like, any kind of scenario where there's a diplomat, let's say, I mean, at that time you could do, FHA would do diplomatic loans. I don't know if they still do them, right? So who knows? I mean, until you actually have a diplomat where we're going to be able to put that particular deal. And so it's very difficult to learn everything. So,
but that's where I also, I guess, maybe like in the beginning phases was just like, I didn't, I had the experience from working on other people's files. But then when it came to my own files, like I wanted to micromanage them and I wanted to make sure that they were perfect from start to finish. And it's like, that's just not the industry we're in. It's about.
Plus, you can't scale up, by the way, madness. you can't
madness, whatever you want to call it.
You can't scale up because the thing is like if you micromanage a file, it's not going to go well. You're going to be able to do 2 to 3 loans a month if you're lucky. You'll never get to be able to do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever plus loans.
And that was the switch for me. Is in November, I had a deal. And it was, in my mind, the most perfect deal. Like I was doing so much like good things were going to come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I find out after the 3-day rescission period that shit went wrong. Not even to get into the whole thing, but basically like the whole thing that I had just worked soup to nut, someone else screwed up at closing. And now we're past the rescission period to kind of make changes or fix things.
And
I was distraught. That was a really hard learning lesson for me. But from that point on, I realized I could be the best damn loan officer ever, but there's other people involved in this transaction. It's not just me. There's the borrowers. There's there's so many moving parts to it. So for me to play them on myself is just.
When I put up my own company in 2000, I'll never forget this. We closed this one loan, and I remember it was a refinance. And I remember getting the commission check. I don't know why I didn't deposit it. I put it in my drawer. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I was going to get around to depositing it. It was a pretty hefty check. I think it was $26,000 commission. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And which was all the money I needed to keep the business going pretty much for the next month.
Yeah.
And the realtor or the settlement agent calls me and says, "Hey, Fob, this is 5 days later after I got the check." She says, "We have a problem." I go, "What?" She goes, "I can't record the deed because your clients filed bankruptcy." So during the loan process, they'd actually gone into bankruptcy and never told me. And I was like, you know what I mean? It's and I'm looking at the check. I'm like, why didn't I deposit it?
Yeah. That's the other thing, I hate to say it, but we have a little thing and it's buyers are liars. And that was another thing that, I'm I see the good in everyone.
Yeah.
And what I've come to realize too is that as much as I'm trying to coach them and help them, people for whatever reason, and I've kind of had to preface this with clients, tell me everything. Do not hold back. And if something happens and you make a mistake throughout the process, because even recently, the last closing that I just had, they did something really, really stupid and we caught it at the end, but it was I've been telling you this since day one. Do not make large deposits, large withdrawals, whatever. And they ended up doing it, not sourcing it.
Clients always get angry at us for their own mistakes.
Their financial,
right. And they're always like, "How come no one told me this?" Or how come? I mean, and once again, it's that little detail thing. We can't know until you've made the mistake, unfortunately.
Exactly. And then they're like, "Well, we're first-time home buyers. We didn't know." I'm like, no, we're not going to sit here and play victim right now because you knew, and I can vividly remember 6 conversations with you because I knew you were first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
Because I know that you don't know these things. And that's where it's just, that's the fun part of this business is getting blamed for other people's financial responsibilities.
When you did get blamed, I mean, how did you? I mean, obviously, look, you're I think you're 2nd or 3rd year in the business now, right?
So 2nd year license, 5th year in the actual industry.
Okay, so 5th year in the business. So you've got a pretty tough skin by now.
Yes.
right? I mean, so this kind of stuff doesn't. I mean,
It doesn't phase me as much anymore, but like
yeah. I
it
mean, angry
really
borrowers are kind of
bothers
the
me in the beginning because I'm
yeah,
like,
especially when they
how
make
can
their own
you be so
mistake.
stupid? I
Yeah.
told them, like, what the hell? Why aren't they listening to me? Yeah, but you just got to realize that, like,
So
that's the thing. You brought up something before, and it like triggered something in my head where it's like, no one's financials are black and white.
yeah,
That you get documentation. Yes, there's numbers on that paper. There's whatever knowledge and things information that you need on the paper, but no one's financials are black and white. And
yeah.
so that's where it's like, okay, as the mortgage lender, how are we going to combat that gray area, and how are we going to educate the clients? Because my goal isn't always just getting the client the house. If I could help you, repair credit, consolidate debt, have a better understanding of the parts of the process, or at least the parts that you're going to be paying for the next 30 years,
Mhm.
I want you to really have a better understanding about your own finances when you walk out the door. Not just, okay, here's the mortgage, go on with it. Like, hope you figure everything else with your credit cards and all your other bullshit.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit now. With the rates going up, I mean, they've gone up. I mean, respectfully, at least 2 percentage points in the first quarter, right? I mean, I mean, like 3.75. I think we're about 5.5 now, give or take. Is that right?
Yeah, it depends on the day. That's where it's like, I can't even sit here and say, like, yeah, this is where it's at today. Cause like I wake up every morning and I'm like, oh, holy shit, like, what am I going to get myself into today?
So, are your
I get
borrower
it
are
this morning.
are your borrowers like saying, "How come I can't afford that house anymore?" Are they blaming you, or are they blaming the interest rates, or like they finally found the house but they don't qualify anymore? Is that occurring?
Yes. So what I've been noticing a lot, and it kind of ties back into this whole emotions. And me, the emotional one, is trying to tell the client who's about to purchase the house of their dreams or wants to purchase the house of their dreams, take your emotions out of it. Easier said than done. But what I
Yeah.
keep trying to remind people is, hey, this is a business transaction. I understand this is exciting, this is nerve wracking, whatever it is, but don't get ahead of yourself and like see the bigger picture. You got to be realistic about things. And where I'm trying, struggling, there's two things right now. It's the people that you pre-approved within the last couple months, where you
Mhm.
look at what you pre-approved them a couple months ago and you're like, we have to restructure one way or the other because rates aren't where they're at. And if they only have X amount of money that they're utilizing towards closing, and now we need to use some of that money to pay points,
Mhm.
how else are we restructuring the deal? Well, technically we could put more down, and then that's putting more money out of their pocket. So now they have
Okay.
less money to pay points. So there's this whole, how do you restructure the deal to keep everything where they're comfortable with the monthly payment and comfortable with what they have to bring to the closing table?
That's a lot. That's a lot to handle. I
It's a
mean,
lot in itself. And then you
yeah.
have the people who are going to multiple lenders. So they're being fed all this information. And I've had a lot of clients that come to me lately, and I don't, if someone gets pre-approved from someone else, I'm not that lender. Send me your pre-approval letter. I
Right.
want to see who you're working with and whatever. But I just kind of ask them, like, where are you at? How much did this lender explain to you when he gave you the pre-approval of what these numbers mean? Did he, break
Oh,
it
you
out?
mean so like lenders are lowballing your the people that are kind of like shopping?
They're they're totally qualifying them for more than what they can qualify for if you're looking at the rates from a conservative perspective. Like, where
Okay.
they're quoting them is where they should have been back when interest rates were in the threes or even the low fours. Like,
Got it.
there is no way that some of these clients are qualifying for that same purchase amount when you know that the interest rates are higher. And then second to that, these lenders will go out there and quote people interest rates. They're basing it on 30-day pricing. Well, guess what? When you're in a pre-approval, you don't even have the house yet. How are you guaranteeing someone a rate within a 30-day pricing?
Mm.
They don't even have an offer accepted. They're just in the bidding phase.
So when you quote a rate, what are you quoting? 30-day, 45, 60? What are you doing?
I explain how interest rates work. And
Okay.
I always come from a place of, okay, people come to me, I want a 2 point, my friend got a 2.7 interest rate, or my friend has a 3.5 from last November. That's what I want. And I go, okay, well, what does a 3.5% interest rate mean to you? And a lot of them don't understand. And I go, I'll explain whatever the interest rate is behind it, but you should be more focused on what the monthly payment is.
Right.
Here's the monthly payment that I can give you at no cost. Are you
Right.
comfortable with that payment for the next X amount of years. No? Okay. Well, then let's see what it would be like to, drop it down. If you don't feel comfortable paying money to drop it down, then maybe you're going to look at a higher interest rate. And with the higher interest rate, you're getting more money back at closing. So maybe now you could put, more of a down payment because you're getting a lender credit for taking the higher rate. So
but I mean, we're not even at 3.5. Like you couldn't even quote 3.5.
No.
I mean,
maybe on a 15-year.
Yeah, on a 15. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I mean, most people, especially first-time home buyers, they're looking at a 30-year fixed rate.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they're not going to take a 15.
going down to a 25 or a 20-year, they don't understand it until, again, you break out the monthly payment and closing costs. Because for me, that's the most important things. The rate, unfortunately, that's something that I have no control over. So for me to sit and wake up every day and stress over what the hell the interest rate is, no. I need to just guide and coach my clients of here's what the monthly payment looks like with the current rate. If you're not happy, then we need to give a little or take a little, go more on the down payment or, take a higher rate for right now. It gives you money back at closing. That helps you be able to put more, whatever the situation is. But my goal,
Let's circle back now because we're coming to the end of our first episode here of Laugh, Let, and Eat Madness, right? I know it went quick.
All day. You got me fired up now.
Let's go back to what you were just talking about. And let's go back to those ladies you met at the airport bar.
Yeah. Love them.
Like in my head, I just saw a connection, right? I just saw you like la la la, and then all of a sudden they're hearing like, is this what you were telling them? And then they said you shouldn't be in the mortgage business.
Well, no. So they were really pressing me for questions. Even my friend that was sitting next to me, because I was with my friend at the airport, she was like nudging me under the table, like, what the fuck? So basically they were like, so you're in mortgages, and then the one girl goes, well, what's your direction? What's your pretty much what are you trying to accomplish with being in the mortgage industry? And I'm like, I don't know.
Because I gotta ask, I'm sorry to ask you, but I mean, age bracket. I mean, where were these ladies?
So they were going to Paris with their 16-year-old daughters. So I'm gonna say 40s, maybe young 50s.
But they had their own business.
Botox, whole they were going to Paris, and the one girl was telling me how her daughter lost her AirPods in the airport, and she just went and bought her daughter a brand new pair of AirPods for $300. I was just they were just very judgy, but they were basically like, "What's your direction?" And I was like, "Well, first and foremost, I'm a female. I want more female to invest in real estate. I want more females to get into this industry. I belong to Christine's Women with Vision group. I am constantly trying to bring on more girls onto our branch and, show them, even for the sake of people that aren't going to college, hey, you can get into this industry. You don't need a college degree.
Right.
You don't need to put yourself in tens of thousands of debt to be successful and to make good money. Yeah, no, it's not an easy job. It's stressful. Obviously, there's things that come out of it. But I pretty much told them, my direction is just to inspire and motivate and help women. Obviously, I have my male industry as my male.
Isn't that an unusual question to ask somebody? I mean, it seems like a pretty in-depth conversation to have in an airport.
What do you do for a living would have been fine, but what's your direct? They were I was like, okay.
Now, did you turn the tables on them and ask them any questions?
And then they go, oh wow, you're good. I'm like, yeah, I am good.
That's awesome.
That's where it's just I don't really I don't get wavered or rocked by some of these comments anymore, because again, it took me a couple years of just really going through the trial and error, and I don't expect people to see my vision, or I don't expect people to understand me. If they understood me, then there's a quote that I like, and it's, if people, now I'm gonna mess it up. It's pretty much if you're doing something no one understands, you're doing you.
Yeah.
No, not everyone is supposed to, if you're telling everyone what you're up to constantly, you're not doing it for you. You're doing it for the validation of everyone else. I don't want people to understand me. I just want people or understand, my reasoning for getting into the industry. I want it to translate that I'm helping people. I'm changing lives and I'm inspiring people.
That's awesome. So we're going to end this on one of my favorite quotes I just recently heard. And the quote kind of goes along with what you're going through. And it says, nobody will ever criticize you that's doing more than you. You will always be criticized by people who are doing
Well,
less
doing
than you.
less. Yeah.
So I think we're going to end that on this note. This is a first episode of Laugh Let Unique Madness with Madison Keenan. And we got to we told her not to talk to anybody for a whole week. Obviously, she met some people at some airports, so she let
I have
a little
everything written in my journal because he wouldn't let me talk to him about it before today. So I was like, oh, lady in the airport on the.
Look forward to more Laugh Let Eat Madness episodes coming at you off of our Laugh Let Eat family, and we keep expanding, and hopefully everyone keeps tuning in. So, guys, have a good one. Madison, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. How was that?